Hello, and welcome to Broadcasting Scotland. It's Friday, the 3rd of June. I'm Andrew Wilson, and this is Scotland at 7. This evening, I have the latest daily update from Ukraine on day 100 of the illegal Russian war of aggression, and then I will take a look at today's headlines from Scotland and around the world. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky marked the 100th day of the war with a video message in front of the presidential office in Kyiv. Flanked by some of his closest allies, including Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal and the presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolyak, Zelensky said, "The leaders of parliamentary factions are here. The president's chief of staff is here. Prime Minister of Ukraine Shmyhal is here. Podolyak is here. The president is here. The armed forces of Ukraine are here. Most importantly, our people, the people of our country, are here. We have been defending Ukraine for 100 days. Victory shall be ours." The scale of destruction in Ukraine defies comprehension, the International Committee of the Red Cross said in a statement to mark the 100th day of the conflict. Thousands of people are living with the anguish of not knowing what happened to their loved ones, the ICRC's Director General, Robert Mardini, said. About 800 people, including children, are hiding underneath the Azot chemical factory in Severodonetsk, according to Serhiy Haidai, the governor of the Luhansk region. Civilians are being urged to flee the eastern Ukrainian city of Sloviansk as Russian bombing intensifies. With no water or electricity, 100 people heeded the mayor's call on Thursday to evacuate. Ukraine's defense minister, Alexei Reznikov, has said he believed the Kremlin was trying to move the war into a protracted phase by building up layered defenses in occupied regions in the south of the country, primarily in Kherson. Pro-Russian officials in the occupied Zaporizhia region of Ukraine said a decree had been issued to nationalize state assets in the southeastern region. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, has said the EU stands with Ukraine as she marked 100 days since Russia's latest invasion of the country. She said she would discuss the EU's current and future support to the country with the French President Emmanuel Macron later today. Kyiv's ambassador to Ankara has said that Turkey is among the countries that is buying grain that Russia stole from Ukraine. Ukraine has granted citizenship to the prominent Russian journalist Alexander Nevzorov, who fled Russia in March with his wife after denouncing Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The UK has taken in fewer Ukrainian refugees per capita than all but one of 28 European countries, a Guardian analysis of official figures from across the continent has found. 7 million people had fled Ukraine for other European countries since Russia invaded on 24 February, according to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. And 10 Russian servicemen who looted the property of Bucha residents have been identified and reported on suspicion of violating the laws and customs of war. Pre-trial investigation in criminal proceedings is carried out by investigators of the National Police of Ukraine, Ukraine's Prosecutor General said in a statement on Thursday. A total of 3,747 displaced Ukrainians with a sponsor location in Scotland have arrived in the UK since the war in Ukraine began 100 days ago. There have now been almost 10,901 visas issued with a Scottish sponsor via the Ukraine Sponsorship Scheme, made up of more than 7,642 visas supplied through the Scottish Government's Super Sponsor Scheme and a further 3,259 visas issued for matches with an individual sponsor in Scotland. The Scottish Government, local authorities and third sector partners have worked hard and at pace to provide a warm Scots welcome to those displaced by the war in their country, providing a range of support, including meals, accommodation, clothing, healthcare, trauma support, and translation. Displaced people also have access to free healthcare and social security benefits. A national matching service has also been established to help identify longer-term accommodation across the country, including the generous offers made by Scottish hosts, as well as from local authorities and housing associations. Marking 100 days since the Russian invasion on the 24th of February, the Minister with special responsibility for refugees from Ukraine, Neil Gray, restated Scotland's continuing determination to support the people of Ukraine. Mr. Gray said, "The horrors that have befallen the people of Ukraine since their country was invaded by Russia 100 days ago has shocked everyone in Scotland and around the world, and we stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine. As a nation, Scotland has responded and opened its heart and extended the hand of friendship, offering support and services for thousands of displaced Ukrainians. I would like to thank the thousands of people who have generously opened their doors to Ukrainian families, volunteered, and donated to causes." He continued, "I would also like to thank Scotland's local authorities and third sector organisations which have risen to the challenge we faced to mobilise a major effort in coordinating help, providing support and services, and to the private sector, which has also offered assistance in such a short period of time. Whilst we want peace and for people to be able to return to Ukraine when it is safe and when they wish to do so, Ukrainians who have settled here can be assured Scotland will be their home for as long as they want it, and they will be made welcome and treated with care, dignity, and respect." A shortage of beds for severely unwell eating disorder patients has forced the English NHS to send more than 100 women from England to hospitals in Scotland for treatment since 2017. The cost of relocating patients, which included under 18s, was more than £10 million, with one patient staying more than a year in hospital, costing close to £250,000. Families involved have warned of the toll of travelling hundreds of miles to see unwell relatives. One mother said she had spent hundreds on petrol to visit her daughter and had slept on the hospital floor after being unable to get a hotel. Experts say that not being close to family and friends can hinder the recovery of many people with mental health problems as they are isolated from their support networks. Campaigners have warned of a crisis as demand for treatment among those experiencing anorexia and bulimia has skyrocketed since the start of the pandemic. Newly released data shows admissions have increased by 84% in 5 years. The limited capacity of specialist services means that patients are being sent hundreds of miles from the local area to get help. A report in The Guardian says the cost of these placements from April 2017 to December 2019 was £10.136 million. The maximum length of stay for a single patient in 2019 was 395 days at a cost of £214,000. In previous years, one patient stayed almost 2 years, costing £340,000. The patients sent were all female, and a number of them were under 18, although the exact number is unclear because the NHS withheld this information, saying it could allow the identification of patients. The Royal College of Psychiatrists has warned that services have been historically underfunded and that demand has soared since 2019. The limited capacity of specialist services and chronic workforce shortages means that patients are not receiving the vital care they need, said Dr. Agnes Ayton, the chair of the Eating Disorders faculty. She said vulnerable patients were waiting long periods and travelling hundreds of miles from their home to get help, a situation she described as entirely unjustifiable. She added, "This would not be acceptable in any other part of the NHS and should not be acceptable in services that address mental health either." Two men have apologised after their involvement in a video appeared on a social media which showed of a group appearing to mock the death of a Northern Irish teacher, Michaela McAreavey, who was murdered on her honeymoon. The video, filmed in a room decorated with Union flags and Orange Order paintings, features people chanting about the 2011 murder in Mauritius of Michaela McAreavey, an Irish language teacher and daughter of the Gaelic football manager Mickey Hart. It has attracted condemnation from across the political spectrum, and the Police Service of Northern Ireland has said it is investigating. In a statement issued through the PA news agency, John Bell and Andrew McDade said their part in the video was a matter of deep shame and regret. Ms. McAreavey, who was 27, was strangled in her room at the Legends Hotel in Mauritius after she returned to the room alone and disturbed a burglary, 10 days after marrying her partner, John. No one has been convicted of her murder. PSNI said it was aware of the video and was examining the content to determine if any offences may have been committed. The Orange Order called the clip utterly abhorrent and said it had launched its own investigation, which it said would lead to disciplinary proceedings against any members found to be involved. Linfield Football Club said a volunteer coach of their girls' academy, who was allegedly involved in the video, has had his contract terminated with immediate effect. The club described the video as offensive, sickening, and deeply hurtful, and apologised to the Hart and McAreavey families. Sinn Féin's Vice President Michelle O'Neill said, "Hate and sectarianism have no place in our society. People deserve better. Love over hate will always win out." The DUP leader, Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, called the video vile, while the Ulster Unionist leader, Doug Beattie, said it was absolutely abhorrent, disgusting and shameful. The SDLP MLA, Justin McNulty, wrote on social media, "Fist-pumping, table-banging, clapping, laughing, jeering, singing a song about the shocking murder of one of the most beautiful people you could ever meet. It's so sick and shameful." And the Irish Premier, Michael Martin, said the video was beyond comprehension, adding, "I think it speaks to a sectarianism and the degree of malice and hate in society that needs to be dealt with." A train has derailed in the Alps in southern Germany, leaving at least 3 people dead and a number of others injured, authorities have said. The train, heading for Munich, was derailed at about 12:15 p.m. on Friday in Burgheim, near the resort town of Garmisch-Partenkirchen, according to the federal police. Some carriages apparently ended up on their sides, but the cause was not immediately clear. The local government in Garmisch-Partenkirchen said at least 3 people were killed and multiple others seriously injured, the news agency dpa reported. It was not clear how many people were on the train at the time of the accident, and the line between Garmisch-Partenkirchen and Oberhau, north of the accident site, has been closed. A man shot and killed 2 women in the car park of a church in Iowa State on Thursday and then turned the gun on himself, police have said, adding 2 more victims to the toll in a series of recent shootings that have rocked the United States. The Iowa shooting took place shortly after President Joe Biden delivered a major address on gun violence in the wake of mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, Uvalde, Texas, and Tulsa, Oklahoma in recent weeks. Meanwhile, another shooting on Thursday wounded 2 people attending a burial at a cemetery in Racine, Wisconsin. The Iowa shooting took place outside the Cornerstone Church, a fundamentalist Christian church east of the city of Ames, while a church program was on inside, said Nicholas Lenny, the chief deputy of the Story County Sheriff's Office. When deputies arrived on the scene, they found 3 dead, including the shooter, Lenny said, adding that he could not provide identities nor disclose what the relationship between them may have been. "This appears to be an isolated single-shooter incident," he said. Moments before, President Biden urged Congress to ban assault weapons, expand background checks, and implement other gun control measures to address the mass shootings. Enough, enough, the president said. The United States has been shaken in recent weeks by the mass shootings that killed 10 black residents in upstate New York, 19 children and 2 teachers in Texas, and 2 doctors, a receptionist, and a patient in Oklahoma. In Racine, Wisconsin on Thursday, multiple gunshots were fired into a crowd of mourners attending an afternoon graveside funeral, wounding 2 people, the local police sergeant Christy Wilcox told reporters. One victim was treated at a local hospital and released. The other was flown to a Milwaukee hospital, apparently suffering more serious injuries, Wilcox said. No suspect was taken into custody. More than 300 firearms and 80 lots of ammunition have been surrendered to police across Scotland as part of a UK-wide firearms surrender campaign to remove unlicensed weapons from our communities and prevent them from being used for criminality. 319 weapons, including shotguns, BB guns, air weapons, and imitation firearms, were handed into police stations between Thursday 12th of May and Sunday the 29th of May this year. The Assistant Chief Constable Alan Spears said, "It's really important that we continue to build on public safety across Scotland by providing opportunities for the safe surrender of weapons like this and by reminding the public to check their licences. Members of the public are reminded that it is against the law to be in possession of an unlicensed firearm, regardless of how you acquire it, and are reminded that firearms can be surrendered to the police at any time. If anyone has any doubt, we have specially trained officers across the country who can make unlicensed weapons safe and remove them." The Cabinet Secretary for Justice and Veterans, Keith Brown, said, "We are grateful to Police Scotland for this important campaign to encourage those in possession of unneeded or unlicensed firearms or air weapons to safely hand them over. Firearms offences remain at historically low levels in Scotland, but by removing more than 300 weapons, as well as ammunition, this initiative will help keep our communities safe and prevent firearms from falling into the wrong hands." The Net Zero Secretary, Michael Matheson, has pledged to maximise the use of public funding to accelerate the delivery of plans to tackle climate change. The Resource Spending Review, published this week, commits to increased spending on heat in buildings, active travel, and peatland and woodland restoration. Capital spending on programmes will also increase by over £500 million over the next 3 years to speed up the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and build climate resilience across Scotland. The Scottish Government has also committed to increasing its efforts to leverage private sector investment in the just transition to net zero to make better use of limited public funds. Key commitments in the Resource Spending Review include up to £75 million per year to deliver the heat in building strategy, enabling £1.8 billion of investment towards targets to decarbonise over 1 million homes and 50,000 non-domestic buildings by 2030. Up to £95 million towards meeting woodland creation targets of 18,000 by 2024-25. £46 million to introduce a community bus fund and an increase in funding for concessionary travel schemes, as well as investing up to £150 million of resource and capital across the spending review period in active travel, and that's as part of a shift to transport funding, to walking, wheeling, and cycling, supporting a commitment to cut car kilometres by 20% by 2030. Investment of over £12 million in peatland restoration to double the current restoration rate and put us on track to hit our target of 20,000 in 2025-26. £4 million of resource spending alongside £150 million of capital and financial investment for the North Eastern Murray Just Transition Fund. And rollout of the Agricultural national test programme to enhance farmers and crofters' awareness of their climate performance. The Net Zero Secretary, Michael Matheson, said, "This spending review comes at a critical point in the global challenge to address the climate crisis. Tangible global action is becoming ever more urgent, and Scotland is committed to playing its part with some of the most ambitious, legally binding targets in the world. That is why our future spending plans prioritise investment in the package of measures to tackle climate change and deliver a just transition, as set out in our updated climate change plan." Offshore work to connect thousands of island homes and businesses to faster and more reliable broadband services has begun. Installation of the first of 16 cables is taking place beneath the seabed around Shetland, under the £384 million Reaching 100% North contract that's being delivered on the ground by Openreach. This will connect premises on 15 islands to faster broadband, capable of 1 gigabit per second download speeds. This is more than 30 times faster than the Scottish Government's original commitment. This stage, expected to be completed by September, is a significant step towards enhanced improved connectivity for people and communities on Colonsay, Iona and Lismore in the Argyll and Bute Council, Egg in the Highland Council area, Adie, Flotta, Hoy, Rousay, Sandy, Shapinsay and Stronsay in Orkney Islands Council, and Fair Isle, Unst, Walsey and Yell in Shetland Islands Council. The Economy Secretary Kate Forbes said, "This installation work demonstrates our commitment to extending access to faster broadband to all areas of Scotland. Once connected, future-proof broadband will make it easier for islanders to keep in touch, work remotely and access services online. It will also benefit visitors and promote greater regional business productivity in line with our national strategy for economic transformation." She continued, "Scotland has some of the most challenging locations anywhere in Europe for providing telecommunications infrastructure. Yet we are determined to deliver access to fibre broadband to every premise in the country. The laying of subsea cables to 15 islands across the Highlands, Argyll and Bute, Shetland and Orkney represents welcome progress to achieving our ambition." And that was our final item this evening. In making these programmes, Broadcasting Scotland relies on the support of viewers and others who value our distinctive approach to news, current affairs and culture. Please help us to continue to make these programmes, to continue to develop the station, and to make new programmes for you. If you are able to support us, then please consider subscribing or donating to Broadcasting Scotland. You will find the link to do that on the screen now. You will also see our appeals for assistance on Facebook and Twitter, because the urgent need for immediate financial support has not gone away. Our current fundraising campaign will run until the 15th of June. There are other ways in which you can contribute to our work. If you would like to volunteer to work with Broadcasting Scotland, either behind the scenes or in front of the cameras, or in any other way that helps our work and promotes the station, then please visit our website at www.broadcastingscotland.scot and send us a message there. You can also find us on Twitter at BroadcastScot and on Facebook by searching for Broadcasting Scotland. Meantime, we will be here again at 12 noon on Sunday with the next edition of the Full Scottish, so please tune in and join us then. And that's the way it is at very nearly Scotland at 7:24. Thank you for everyone and to everyone who's been watching this evening. I hope that you have a very peaceful weekend and can join us again here soon on Broadcasting Scotland. Bye bye.